In our family, it's me as the mom's job to pack everyone to go anywhere. And that can be extra frustrating when there's no participation. So, as you know, I told you guys on Friday, Scott surprised me with a little staycation, which I was already kind of like on the fence about going. I don't know why. It was just sounded like it was going to be stressful. And that's the way it began. So I'm like, okay. So Friday just kind of stuck up on me. And I'm like, I haven't packed anyone. I got to take Addie. I got to pick her from school. I got to take her right to Girl Scouts. And we got to come home. And then he wants to leave at 5. And we get home at 4:30. This is not going to happen. So I get home and Addie wants to pack herself. But what she likes to do is have me write her a list of things. And then she reads it, packs it herself, and checks it off, which is usually great, right? Like, yeah, I'm like, oh my God, you're growing up. This time, she was having a complete meltdown. I don't know where this stuff is. I'm like, you literally get yourself dressed every day. You know where it is. Then Easton's fighting with her. He's throwing things at her, making her cry even more. And it's just like absolute chaos. And Scott walks in and he just looks at me and I'm like, he's like, Happy Mother's Day. And at that point, I was like, you guys go. I'm ready for you guys to leave. But we get all packed up and we get to the hotel and it was like the minute we got there, just seeing the excitement in the kids, like everything they saw, it was like magical. You know what I mean? It was as if we were at Disneyland and we're just a hotel. I mean, it was a very nice hotel, but like everything. So we went and we explored, and this hotel is like in sort of like the desert. So they have this display of these live snakes. And so we're looking at the snakes, and then we're going out and we're scoping out the pool for the next morning. And they're kind of like, can we get our feet wet? And I'm like, go for it. And they just think it's like the greatest thing ever. And just seeing that, it made all of the stress, all of the frustration go away. And I was like, I looked over at Scott, I'm like, I'm really glad I came. Thank you for this.
Good. Good for you.
So it was really good.
They usually say for moms, it's not a vacation. It's just a trip somewhere else. You're still a mom.
Yeah.
You're still going to take care of stuff.
Yeah.
Hope you got a chance to chill a little bit.
Yeah, we did. It was good.
And Suzette, a year from now, you'll have one.
I know, crazy. I had a lot of people actually message me and say Happy Mother's Day, and I'm like, oh, it was so weird to even just get that message. I was like, oh, thank you.
Little Umberto.
No,
He'll be out a year from now.
that's not the name.
You have chosen a name though, right?
Yes, the baby boy's name is Achilles, but we have not figured out a middle name. We're still trying to figure that out.
How did you come up with that?
That Mr. Baby, my husband picked that years ago. That was his boy's name. He was like, Achilles is a name. And I was like, okay. So we had that. And I've had a girl's name, which is my middle name, Andrea. So the names, we've had those names for years. So it was an easy one. Now it's the middle name. We're like, And my husband has so much trauma with his name because his name is Alvaro. And a lot of people have a hard time pronouncing that. And every time he tells people like, Alvaro, they're like, what? Say that again. And so he has like just all this trauma, and I'm like, how about we just don't pick a middle name and it's just Achilles? And he's like, no, like if he doesn't like it, he needs a second option. I didn't have a middle name. He needs something else. And so we're going over middle names, and he's like, no. I'm like, all right, that's your choice. You're picking it. I'm staying out of it.
So when it's Achilles, have you figured out what the nickname will be? What do you think people will call him?
Well,
Ack? What up, Ack?
Elise.
Elise?
Well,
Akil?
we were hanging out with our nieces this weekend, and we were like, Achilles, baby Achilles is in here, and she would say, Kiwi.
Kiwi. I don't think when he's 17,
Kiwi?
he wants to be called Kiwi. A Kiwi.
That's not
Like
the best.
there's a guy on my son's basketball team, and his name is Shamar, and the coach heard his mom call him Marmar.
All over now.
It was like, yeah. And he told a couple players, "Don't call me Marmar." You know. And then there's another guy on my son's team named Xavier, and everyone calls him X, and that sounds cool.
Oh, that
sounds
is
pretty
cool.
cool.
Right? And X, way to go, X. Another kid on the team's called Orlando, and everyone calls him O. Like it's cool.
Well,
so
whatever
Achilles,
it is, he can grow out of it. I mean,
Right.
my nephew, his name is Colby, but growing up, my sister and her husband and all of us called him Chooch. For whatever reason, that was his nickname, Chooch. And then at one point, I think he was around 8-ish. He was like, Mom, you can't call me that anymore. And she was like, oh, it's so weird because that's all we've called him his whole life. And like right now, Easton, we call him Bubbies, and he introduces himself as that. Like even around other kids, they're like, what's your name? He's like, Bubbies. And I'm like, one day I know he's going to grow out of that.